There are some places on Earth that they defy any easy explanation. They're simply too vast, their history is way too deep, their character too complex. Today, we're going to journey into one of those nations, a land of truly staggering scale, full of contradictions, an enigma, really, wrapped right into the fabric of a continent. 11. What do you think that number means? Well, it's the number of time zones that stretch across a single, unbroken country. Just try to wrap your head around that for a second. It means that while families in Kaliningrad, way over on the Baltic Sea, are sitting down for dinner, fishermen on the other side of the country, on the shores of the Bering Strait, are just starting their day. That's the rhythm of life in Russia. Okay, so we're talking about scale, right? But it's a scale that's almost impossible to really grasp. So let's put it this way. Russia isn't just bigger than any other country on Earth, it's literally bigger than the entire surface of the planet Pluto. Yeah, you heard that right. You could take the whole continent of Australia, add Antarctica, and then squeeze in all of Europe, and you'd still have room left over. It's just immense. So the big question is, how do you even begin to understand a nation on a scale like that? Well, that's what we're here to explore. To even get started, we've got to look at the huge forces that have forged its identity. We're talking about its immense, often unforgiving geography, its incredibly turbulent history of empires and revolutions, and of course, the amazing mosaic of people who call this place home. Right, first up, the endless natural expanse. And honestly, it all starts with the land. You have to understand the Russian landscape isn't just some pretty backdrop for the story. No way. It's a main character. It's a force of nature that has dictated absolutely everything, from basic survival all the way to building an empire.
And when we talk about the land, we have to talk about climatic extremes. I mean, look at this. In northeast Siberia, you've got a place literally nicknamed the Pole of Cold, where people live through temperatures dipping to minus 71 degrees Celsius. Can you even imagine that? But then, you travel thousands of kilometers away to the southwest, and boom, you're in a humid, subtropical climate. These aren't just, slightly different weather patterns. They are completely different worlds, all inside the borders of one country.
The land itself is just a collection of nature's greatest hits, really. It's home to the taiga, this massive forest that's basically the lungs of the entire planet. It's got Mount Elbrus, which is Europe's highest peak. You've got the Volga, Europe's longest river. And then there are the Ural Mountains, that ancient rocky spine that has traditionally been the line between Europe and Asia. Now get ready for this number because it is absolutely staggering. More than 20%. 20% of all the fresh surface water on the entire planet is sitting in one single lake. That's Lake Baikal. It's not just the deepest and the oldest lake on Earth. It holds more water than all of the North American Great Lakes put together. It's like a world of its own, hidden deep in the heart of Siberia. So, echoes of empire and revolution. You see, this huge landscape has been the stage for a history that's every bit as dramatic and extreme as the land itself. Russia's story isn't a simple one. It's a tale of constant and often violent change. Empires have risen and empires have fallen right here, and every single one has left a permanent mark on the nation's soul. Okay, let's just run through this incredible timeline. The whole story kicks off more than 1,000 years ago with the Kievan Rus. From there, it grows into the powerful Tsardom of Russia. Then, by the 1700s, it just explodes into the massive Russian Empire, the third largest in all of history. But then, in 1917, that entire world gets turned completely upside down by a revolution that gives birth to the Soviet Union, the world's very first socialist state. And finally, in 1991, from the ashes of that Soviet Union, the modern Russian Federation we know today emerges. It's this constant cycle of collapse and rebirth. And this really shows you two completely different ideas of what power even is. On one hand, you've got the Russian Empire. Think absolute czars, ridiculously opulent palaces, and centuries of unchanging tradition. Then, on the other hand, you have the Soviet Union, a revolutionary state built on a brand new radical ideology, a command economy, and this fierce global competition. I mean, they're two totally opposing worlds, but they were born from the exact same land. But in the middle of all that political chaos of the 20th century, a whole different kind of ambition took flight. We're talking about the space race. The Soviet Union launching Sputnik, sending the very first human into orbit. These weren't just scientific achievements. They became these incredibly powerful symbols of the country's industrial and scientific power. And that legacy, it's still a huge part of the national identity today. All right, next up, a mosaic of peoples. Because look, a nation is so much more than just its geography or its government rate, it's the people. And when you ask, who are the Russian people? Well, that's a really complex question. This place is not a monolith. It's a true, genuine mosaic of all different kinds of people. 193. Plus, that's how many different distinct ethnic groups are living inside Russia's borders today. You've got Tatars, Bashkirs, Chechens, and dozens of smaller indigenous groups way out in Siberia. The country is this incredibly complex tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. So this chart kind of breaks down that complexity for us. And yeah, ethnic Russians make up the majority, at about 72%. But take a closer look. See all those other categories? They add up to nearly a quarter of the entire population. That's a huge testament to the nation's incredible and honestly often overlooked diversity. And it's this very diversity that has helped fuel a culture that has had a massive impact on the world. I mean, think about it. From the deep, soul-searching novels of Dostoevsky and Tolstoy to the absolutely breathtaking artistry of the Bolshoi Ballet, and of course, the pioneering science that literally took us to the stars. Russia's cultural footprint, it's global, and it's just undeniable. Okay, let's talk about Russia's modern complexities. This brings us right up to today. The modern Russian Federation is, without a doubt, a global power. But it's also a place that holds many of the same exact contrasts we've been seeing throughout its entire history. So when you look at the economy, modern Russia is a major player. On paper, its nominal GDP ranks about 9th in the world. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look at something called purchasing power parity, which is basically a fancy way of saying what the money can actually buy inside the country, well, by that measure, its economy is 4th in the world. That points to some serious internal economic strength. And what's the engine driving that whole economy? Well, once again, it all comes back to its geography. Russia is sitting on the world's largest proven reserves of natural gas, and it's one of the top producers of oil. You better believe those resources give it a ton of economic and geopolitical power. But here's where that modern paradox really snaps into focus. On the one hand, you have a country with a very high human development index, and it's one of the biggest consumer markets on the planet. But on the other hand, it struggles with really high income inequality and ranks way down on global lists that measure things like media freedom and democracy. It's a nation where massive strengths and really significant challenges exist side by side. So, where does that leave us? We're left with this final question, aren't we? A nation forged by empire and ice, a land of both incredible strength and deep, profound challenges. It's a country of superlatives and contradictions, and it's a place that, for sure, continues to play a decisive role on the world stage. What will its next chapter be? Well, that's the part that is still being written.